Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time zone you are on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me, watching, listening to what God has to say through me. I count it as an honor and a privilege to come on here and share what God has given me with you all and to read your comments, your feedback, and everything like that. I just came on today to share some things with you about toxic thinking. Um, there are four levels of toxic thinking, men and women of God. We have the negative, we have the fearful, we have doubtful, and critical. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. We have the negative, fearful, the disconnected, and critical. Sorry. What I mean by that is we go through so many stages in our thinking on our day-to-day life. If we hear a negative comment, we take it in and we kind of push it to the back. Then something else will come and it'll make us fearful, and then something else will come and it'll make us kind of disconnect ourselves from positive thinking, disconnect ourselves from situations where we need to be in tune to address things. And then the critical, and to me, with the critical becomes the my hair is in my shirt, sorry guys. And with the critical, that plays in tune to the judgmental. But the thing about it is this: we have to recognize and realize where the root of our toxic thinking comes from. It could be a situation that happened to us somewhere down the line, something that we saw someone else experience, something that we truly never healed from, or, just the enemy playing on our weaknesses. But, I always use myself as an example. I experienced all four of those stages at like one time, which was crazy. Because as I started to grow in as I started to grow in God and wanting to, teach and expound more on his word, the devil had me comparing myself to my husband and to other, teachers that I, looked up to, and made me feel like that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't qualified to do this, and that that I just didn't know enough. So that was the negative thought coming in. Then I got fearful. Then I kind of disconnected from the whole thing and just was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna partake in that because I don't want to um misinform anybody, especially if I don't know what I'm talking about. And then the critical part came, and I was like, well, what if I get up there and embarrass God and all of this? Like, I experienced all of those stages at once, not only with doing what God has called me to do, with just in my everyday life, but um, the thing about it is, men and women of God, we have to know, like I said in the beginning, where the root of the thinking came from. And my root for not being enough to teach God's word rooted back to when I went through that stuff with me getting my early childhood degree, and the teacher basically telling me I wasn't enough, I wasn't qualified or even safe to do the job that I was, training and going to school for. So if we don't recognize the root of where issue comes from, it's harder for us to change our toxic thinking in future forms of our lives. So we have to be able to address those and remember whose we are and who we are, and know that He called us for such a greater purpose than having toxic thoughts, thinking. He did not create us to be negative thinkers. He did not create us to be disconnected thinkers. He did not create us to be fearful thinkers. He did not create us to be um, disconnected thinkers, fearful thinkers, critical thinkers. He did not create us to be worriers, critical, any of that. Our thoughts should not be hit. Our thoughts should not be our thoughts anyway. Our everything that we do should be in tune with God and what we want, what He wants us to do, and we have to really learn how to turn over everything that is us to Him, which includes our way of thinking. And I am going to close out with a scripture, and it is Isaiah 55, and it's going to be verses 8. Sorry, verses 8, 8 and 9, and I'm going to read it out of the Message version. I don't think the way you think. The way you work isn't the way I work. God's decree, far as the skies soar high above earth. So the way I work surpasses the way you work. And the way I think is beyond the way you think. So when we think these, toxic thoughts, men and women of God, we always focus them on the right now. But when we turn our thoughts over to God, give our minds to God, keep our minds stayed on Him, He takes our thoughts and surpasses them past all of the negativity. So I just encourage you all to get rid of the toxic thinking. Think about where the root of your toxic thoughts come from. Pray about it. Give it to God. Ask Him to guide you, to heal you, so that you can be able to think positive, speak positive, and encourage yourself so that you can be able to encourage others. Until next video, men and women of God, be blessed.